Here he is, he's tuning it up. The Tres. Tell me about this guitar, Jay.
This one in particular? Or
yeah, that one, just that one.
Well,
you probably got it in, what, early 90s? Where'd you find it?
Just a second. Oh, wait. I got it ordered through the 12th fret. I think it was made in Cuba. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was made in Cuba. The 12th fret ordered it, and I think they ordered it. It had to go from Cuba up to San Francisco.
And it has 3 sets of paired strings.
Yeah, they're tuned. This one is tuned in an octave to the note G. And these middle two are tuned unison to the note C. And the bottom ones here are tuned at this point unison to the note E, so it's creating a C major triad, with the low note being the 5th, 5, 1, and 3. And oftentimes this string, the E string, is doubled in an octave too. I'm using what I call the Pancho Amat style at this point, using the top note in unison, because it kind of cuts a bit more. The more rustic approach, old-fashioned, is to have it doubled. Is to have the octave. I think, anyway. I think that's the older way of doing it. I know that the more modern players use it with this being the unison. Like I said, because it cuts more. It gives you more sort of attack.
And who are the people who come to mind when you think about pioneers of the instrument who have, when enough of them got together over time, I guess, started to make enough of the same artistic choices, so that now when we look back, we see these tunings and these tendencies as being, the traditional things that like imperatives, the things that we do. Who are the guys who come to mind when you think of the roots, legends, and trendsetters for that instrument, the tres?
To be honest with you,
or are there any people?
Well, a lot of that information is pretty archaic, and it's hard to find out even who the tres players were on a lot of early recordings. It can be found out, and the names are not necessarily, they're not even names that I actually know. I don't know the academic stuff that much about the instrument. I know that some of the great innovators in the instrument would be, of course, Arsenio Rodriguez, Papi Oviedo and Isaac Oviedo are great players from the past.
And what past are we talking about? Arsenio was in the 40s?
Arsenio would be in the, I guess, the 40s, 50s, right up to the 70s.
Can you give me an Arsenio lick?
Yeah, well, let me think for a minute. His thing was very much a rhythmic type of thing. He was very, very strong on the rhythm aspect of playing, and his placement of notes was very, very, very syncopated. So he would play over something played where the montuno and the tempo is this. A lick that has always stuck with me that he would play would be this. The end of it. Yeah. So on. And there's this, I should know this bit too. Yeah. I haven't done that in a while, but that's an example. So the rhythm's one. And he'll lay down those triplets. And he would also play a line like this. A very long line, descending or ascending. again playing the heavy, strong 6 or 3 triplets over the quarter notes, right?
Sort of like how a piano player in some styles of song or earlier song would just play right over the time and kind of take you out and then bring you back as a listener.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, generally that's the use of like some form of triplet, you know, a quarter note triplet, eighth note triplet, even 16th note triplets, right? And
Yeah.
it's the feeling, it's giving you the feeling 1, 2, 3, 4, playing.
Yeah.
Triplets over the quarter notes.
Yeah.
Blurring the bar lines.
Polyrhythm country. Polyrhythmville.
Yeah, absolutely right, yeah.
I've always thought of you as like a self-igniter, you know, somebody who's kind of lighting their own, for their own reasons. They've got the kindling, they've got the fuel for the fire, and they're just gonna light it. And whoever is coming along, that's cool. And that's been sort of your default mode, I guess, for a while. I don't know, but
Well, I mean,
that's sort of my perspective, and I'm just wondering what, like, your inspiration for pursuing this instrument. You know, where did it come from, or not where did it come from, but how difficult or easy has it been to learn this stuff?
how difficult or easy has it been to learn it?
Can you put yourself back into the mid '90s and?
Very difficult and very easy at the same time, because as we were talking about a little earlier, music has always been extremely personal for me, and I know that there were some key moments. I know that I decided I was going to be a musician sometime around 7 or 8 years old. I also went through some other things in my life that made me realize that I probably wasn't going to be the rock star that I thought I was going to be. And I abandoned that. But while abandoning that, I realized that what I really wanted to do was be a musician, and that I could be a musician. I could always retreat back to my room and play my guitar and hide away from the world by doing that, right? Mm-hmm. So music became extremely personal. So what I would do, you know, the intense amount of study and practice that a person needs to do in order to learn an instrument was very easy for me to do, because it was really quite simply a way for me to escape from the rest of the world.
And that's sort of how did that play into or inform your learning methodology? Like, how did you go about getting through the mistakes and the frustrating hurdles that are always in a student's way?
I always found that it was frustrating, but never to the point of me wanting to stop doing it.
So that sounds like somebody who doesn't have a choice.
Yeah,
you know,
that might be true. I also found great joy in when I found it frustrating. It didn't deter me from wanting to learn whatever it was I was going to learn. I was even more determined.
Right.
There wasn't anything that was going to beat me.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that was going to beat me in music. And yet I also knew at the same time, though, that I had no interest in doing it in any academic way. Mm-hmm. I hated school, both my parents being school teachers. Yeah, read into that. So it wasn't going to happen from school. It was going to happen on my own. I was going to invent my own curriculum, and I was not going to be denied being a musician. And again, it wasn't so much about wanting to go out and perform music in front of people, so much as that I wanted to be in music all the time, because it was the place in the world where I was actually happy.
So when people stop going to see bands and they start to change their attitudes towards paying a musician, this is something that's a very, very, very current issue for a lot of musicians, mm-hmm. not just in the city we live in, Toronto, but just these are the tones of the times. Mm-hmm. People don't see the I guess the point, or they don't really. It's not a commonsensical impulse anymore to go and pay a musician.
Right.
You know, I remember seeing an African band have the local Africans bundle up cash and chuck it on stage because there's no middleman to pay.
Right.
You know, there's room for middlemen in the music industry. It always has been, always will be. But
Right.
for a guy like you, these days, as things change, what are some of your attitudes towards the way how things could be improved, how our scene could be improved, how like what younger people coming into the scene should maybe start to value? Do you see things that way at all, or where do you see any kind of conflict in your own professional life these days?
I'm not sure as to the value of what we do, musicians. I'm not really sure. I know that it has given me everything in my life, and well, almost everything. That's a bit dramatic, actually, but it is the center of my life. I am a musician, of course, and I love every second of being in music. But again, it comes back to this thing about music being so personal for me. What value does music actually have in this world? It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Everybody's brother, everybody's cousin plays a guitar. Everybody, everywhere plays something, right? So what really is the value of it when everybody can do it? I'm not really sure. And here's another thing about that, though. I actually believe that it is a good thing that everybody can do it because, again, my experience with music has been that I needed it to help me. And I'm glad that it was there when I needed it, and I still do. So, you know, I'm not coming from an academic position, and I'm not coming from a position where I ever thought that music was going to make me money. They told me as a child that it would be a nice hobby, and you know, you can't make any money at it, and you'll starve, and it'll be a really hard life.
Yeah.
And even at the age of 10 years old, I went, yeah, you're right, it will be.
That's sort of like
I can handle it.
Right.
I don't care.
It's a rite of passage to joining the tribe that you feel like you're already a part of. You know, having that information being told to you by your parents is sort of like, you know, you're being initiated into the tribe that you're already a member of.
I expected you to say that.
Yeah.
I expected you to say that because that's what I've read was told to my heroes, right? They said the same thing to my heroes. And
okay, so
that's all I could ever really aspire to be. But the question is, I have a lot of thoughts actually about, but they're rather hard to articulate. I happen to think that file sharing is a very, very good thing because it makes music accessible instantly to young people who want to learn how to do it and want to get the value from music.
Well, why should we pass it along to kids?
Because it's encouraging children to think that there could be a good life for themselves. It's actually, and from the way that I feel about it, and the way that I understand it, is that we are encouraging children to express themselves. We're encouraging children to rise intellectually and emotionally. We're encouraging them to value something other than this horrible society that we live in that enslaves people to financial institutions.
Right.
It's absolutely fucking awful, and I want to encourage children to do something other than that, value something other than what appears on the superficial level in our society. So I think that that's very important. I think that it can encourage kids in other ways if you're going to question the value of living a money-driven life where all you're going to do is pursue mortgage payments, then who knows what else that child will then question. Perhaps they'll question many, many other things. Perhaps they'll question their role in the society. Perhaps they'll question, are they really powerless when it comes to governing their own country or governing their own lives? It will lead them to possibly questioning their own philosophies, possibly coming up with their own philosophies.
Speaking of philosophy, without getting, turning into too much of, a philosophical dork here, and talking about the utility, like the point of, say, dancing when you're seeing a band. Is that maybe something like you play a dance music predominantly when you play song music, Cuban song music? It's a dance form. And is there any value, you think, or any wisdom in just that being the case? Like people come to see the band or any band that you've been in where you're playing the Cuban music on the level of Sonache, Clave Congo, and all these other great artists that you play with. Why do people go to see a band and they want to boogie their butts off? What's the process there? What's actually happening?
I mean, I don't really know. Why do I like to go and see music that I like, even if I don't dance? Because oftentimes it will have something to do with sharing the experience with another person, like Donna, of course. We would go and see many shows and had wonderful times doing that. So it becomes a social outing. I also know that I can continue with that thought and realize, though, that when in that situation, you're likely to run into other people of a similar mindset that are enjoying it too.
So there's some things that are maybe larger than you that you can tap into and co-experience. You can share an experience of the band really sounding good, and just that fact alone really helping you to, just automatically generating a response in you, the listener, as somebody who's in a club or wherever it is at a concert, just getting off on how good the band sounds.
Right.
So I find that's one thing, one aspect right there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I can't speak for other people, but for me, it's that type of experience.
Yeah.
The other people that are there for the type of music that I would go and see, and Donna and I would go and see, would be we would find other people of a like mind there that would be enjoying it, and we would probably have a discussion with them, and they'd probably be to other people that we know.
And they express that enjoyment by dancing, moving around.
Yeah, well, you can dance, you can move around, and Donna used to come and dance. That was how we met. I think, though, that even for her, the dancing wasn't necessarily the biggest part of it. It was the social aspect and coming out and doing something and being sociable and being a living person and enjoying some really good culture. As I said, you're going to find people that are of a like mind. If you go and do the things that you like to do, you're going to find people of a like mind, right? People going and dancing would be that same thing. One of the things, of course, that I found incredibly frustrating with that other band other than Clave Congo that you mentioned was that it had abandoned any and all artistic aspirations that I could see, and had lost focus of what it once was, and very quickly became there just for other really quite ugly aspects of the social structure.
You're in a band right now called Los Caballeros del Son.
Yeah.
And this is your own project. What's the you have this instrumental tune. Do you know the one I'm talking about? It's a new one.
Yeah.
How long is that song, do you think?
How long is it?
Yeah.
I couldn't say. The length of the song?
3 minutes?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on the context. Do we play it with solos? Do we do improvisations?
I feel like giving me a taste, no solos? Just taking me through the arrangement?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. One pass through, right?
I only have another minute and 15 left, so that's why I had to cut you off, and so
Yeah.
rudely I apologize
No,
for
that's
that,
okay.
and to get you to do that tune.
But,
Let me show me this battered machine.
Yeah.
Look at these scars. This guitar has seen more action, more stories with this thing.
I think that I like guitars that look like they've got character. I think that the scars make us who we are, unfortunately.
Yeah, a lot of personality with this
Yeah.
thing. So next plans, next current events in 40 seconds, current things that are going on.
Continuation of the same processes and trying to live in the process all the time.
Yeah,
Trying to abandon old baggage
yeah,
and live in the moment, and trying to, I hate those old hoary cliches myself, but sometimes they really apply. And to just keep on keeping on.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And teaching.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there are lots of teaching, lots of playing. And yeah, that's about it, I suppose, probably. Yeah.